Hey everybody, it's Dave. Welcome to Holiday for Two. Today we're going to do a ride-along video. Tammy and I took a trip recently up Arizona Highway 89, otherwise nicknamed the Granite Mountain Memorial Highway. And we're starting our trip here just north of Congress, and we're going to continue on up through the back way to Prescott. And we'll end the video right before we get into Prescott. Actually, I'm going to stop it right before we get into White Spar Campground. It's just a beautiful drive. A lot of folks haven't done this drive before, but if you have, you know what I mean. If you've never done it, it's a definitely must-see. The back way to Prescott through Wickenburg and Congress and then up Highway 89. Takes you through Yarnell, Peoples Valley, Willo, and a couple other small communities on the way. It's a nice drive. It used to be that going up Yarnell Hill was quite a challenge back in the day, but the highway has really been improved and it's a nice drive. That mountain right straight ahead, that's over that mountain, you'll be getting into Yarnell and Peoples Valley. But let you sit back and enjoy the ride and maybe play some music for you while you're doing it. Once in a while, I might step in and comment on something that I think is really kind of neat to see along the road. So enjoy the trip. Thanks for coming along. Now in just a minute we're going to start climbing up the famous Yarnell Hill. And it's about a 6-mile stretch, and if you ever come up this way, there is a place to stop and actually see the Granite Hotshot Memorial. It's one of those things I would recommend if you haven't done it before. There is a hike that you can take that goes up to where the Granite Hotshots last stand was. Those of you that don't know, the Granite Hotshots were the firefighters who were fighting the Yarnell fire back in 2013. I believe there was like 13 of them, 12, 13 of them. And they perished taking a last stand as the fire turned and came back towards them. They only had a matter of a few, maybe less than a minute to get prepared as the fire turned and turned back on them. And they all perished in the fire. They had their protective gear and everything, but it was such a ferocious fire. And there's a memorial in Prescott. I covered it recently. To go back and take a look at the Prescott video that I did. They've done a lot of memorials for the firefighters, but this is one of the most inspiring, I think, if you are able to do it. It's a hike. It's about 5 miles, I believe, and there's a parking lot where you can park and take the hike. But it is a rugged hike because you're going to go about 5 miles up the hill and over the hill down into where the firefighters were when the fire turned on them. And strangely enough, where they made their last stand, the shelter for the firefighters was less than, I believe, a half a mile away from where they were. If they had only had a few more minutes, they could have probably made it to the shelter. But the fire turned so fast, and they didn't have a lot of time to get dug in and use their protective gear to cover them up. And the heat was so, it's just a brutal thing. And so check it out, the Yarnell fire and the Granite Hotshots. It's a pretty drive. Years ago, this used to be a really scary drive. It was a narrow highway all the way up the hill. And people used to really dread coming up this way because it was kind of a scary ride, but the highway's been improved a lot. There are a few spots you'll see in ahead down the road where it gets a little narrow. The narrow spots actually get closer to Prescott. And we're coming into the little town community of Yarnell, Arizona. This is where they were fighting the fire back in 2013, trying to keep it from going into this town. That's a little art gallery and a restaurant right there on the way into town off this to right side there. A couple little stores that are really neat. Little arts and crafts stores, little antique stores through here. There's one coming up you notice off to the right called the Emporium. Kind of a famous little stop in town. But Yarnell is a community of about approximately 1,000 people, maybe more. The last census in 2010 had it about 650, but I think it's more than that. I'm gonna say it's probably about 1,500 people live here. But if you take in all the areas, even the ranches and stuff around, there's the Dollar General. It's probably more than that. There's the Emporium coming up here. There's a place, a little restaurant here where they have the poker run every year. The ATVs get together and they do what's called a poker run. You sometimes get 50, 60 entries in that, and they do there's the Emporium off to the side. They do a poker run, so it's a lot of fun. It's about a 20, 25 mile ride. Something, and they do like a little poker game while they're doing the ride. You get little cards, or I guess whoever gets blackjack wins the raffle. But little stores and through here. My mom just used to love to stop. There was a little thing off to the side. I don't know if it's still here, like a little shrine of St. Joseph and a little garden. Now I know there's a little garden off to the left here coming up, a memorial garden for the Yarnell firefighters. A lot of famous ghost towns in this area, like Stanton, Octave, Congress are nearby, Harper's Flat. Yarnell is named after a prospector from years ago. I believe his name was Harrison Yarnell. Back in like 1875, somewhere around there, he discovered gold in the Yarnell mine. That's where it got the name. It's just a nice little drive through here. I think the biggest store is probably the Dollar General back in the middle of town there. And when we continue on, we're going to be heading up next to Peoples Valley coming up in just a minute. My favorite little town or community. Somebody got mad at me one time because I called someplace a town, and they wrote a comment about that's not a town. And I guess technically anymore they call it a census designated place. That's on Wikipedia. If it's not a town or a city, if it's just a small community. What was it in the old days? They called them hamlets. It's a hamlet. Yeah, it's a hamlet. A little community like Peoples Valley through here. And this community is smaller than Yarnell. I believe population around here is somewhere between 500 and maybe 1,000. Elevation is about 4,400 feet. It does snow in here. This little area through here is just so pretty. I love driving through here, especially after our rainy monsoon summer season, because it just greens up and it feels like you're going through the Montana, Idaho, up in that area of the country. Really pretty little area. And they do get snow in the wintertime too. Some little cattle farms off to the side there, cattle ranches. Interesting, I found out that Peoples was also named for a prospector named A.H. Peoples. He was the leader of a group that discovered Rich Hill, which was a gold deposit near the town of Weaver, Arizona, back in 1863. But it's just a pretty little spot through here. Nice drive. And it was just such a pretty day. I'm kind of glad even though we had to make the detour, it was enjoyable. If you ever get up this way, it's an enjoyable ride. It's a little farther than going up the faster route, which is on I-17 if you're going to Prescott. This is just kind of a back way to go. You can also go to Prescott and come down through here as well. And sometimes, like in our case, it's a good way to avoid the traffic or the backups on I-17. And those of you that don't live in the valley or in Arizona right now, they're doing a lot of road work on I-17. They're also doing a little bit of road work on the highway here, but a lot of road work on I-17. So it's not unusual right now to have them narrow the lanes down to one lane. And if there's ever an accident, oh my goodness, or somebody breaks down, it just causes a big backup, which is one of the reasons why they're widening I-17 to help reduce some of that. It's kind of well known if you live in Phoenix and you want to go to the Flagstaff in the summertime on the weekends, it's better to go during the week than wait till Friday night. That's like the worst time to leave Phoenix to go to the mountains, because everybody and their brother and their cousin and nephew, you know what I mean? Everybody wants to go to the mountains on Friday night, so you're going to run into a lot of traffic. If you want to avoid the traffic, it's almost better to just get up early Saturday morning or go earlier in the week if you can. Continuing on up the road, we're going to be going through Kirkland as well as a couple other little communities I'll tell you about in just a second. And in just a minute, we're going to be coming into Kirkland. Here is actually, right here is Kirkland Creek. Off to the side there, you see the little sign. When you cross over the creek, you know you're getting close to Kirkland Junction. This is another one of those little small communities along the road here from Peoples Valley on up to Prescott. But I want to tell you a little story. One of these days, I'm going to come up here. Tammy and I are going to come up here in the motorhome. We're going to make a trip down Wagner Road, and it's coming up in just a second. There's a junction here that goes, the 15 highway goes north, but right before the junction, there's a cutoff to the right on Wagner Road. And if you take Wagner Road, it takes for about 12 or 14 miles. It goes down south of the highway and crosses over the old Hassayampa River Bridge, as well as there's a campground down there called Oak Creek Campground, I believe it is. There's off to the left there, you'll see a little substation coming up here on the Kirkland Junction just ahead. And then off to the right, there's a sign right there that'll say Wagner Road and Walnut Creek site or Walnut Grove Dam. And you take that road and go down. There's an old dam that was built years ago, back in 1888, I believe it was. It was like a huge dam. And they built a dam out of rocks and logs, and it wasn't built very well, honestly, but it was huge. And it was built to store up water for the mining of the area. And it was a big enough lake that people could get boats out and fish in it, and they were hoping to turn it into like a little place where people just sail and stuff. But unfortunately, that year or the year after that, we had a lot of rain in Arizona, and the dam filled up so much that the dam broke. Yeah. And I forget how many acres of water they figured were behind that dam. But when it broke, it sent water all the way down the Hassayampa River through Wickenburg, all the way down in those communities, all the way down even into Vulture Peak area, Vulture Mine area. And they were, this is kind of morbid, but there were bodies found as far south, 20, 30 miles south of there. Bodies were found. I think they've estimated 100 people died in that flood from the dam breaking. And there's somebody, I heard a story, one of the historians in Arizona that often goes to Prescott. He told a story about this, and I was listening to it. But he had a little funny story that he added to it about the Arizona's Paul Revere. And there was a man that, when they knew the dam, they had a feeling that the dam was going to break pretty soon. They gave us one of the men on horses and paid him some money. They asked, who's got the fastest horse, who can do this? We need you to go down the river and warn people of that the dam is going to break and there's going to be a flood. And they paid him. Unfortunately, they made a mistake of paying him ahead of time for doing his job. Well, he took off and he warned a few people, but on the way down, he found a saloon and took his earnings. I don't say winnings, but he took his earnings and went into a saloon, and of course, never made it out of the saloon. Never got to warn everybody, and I think he died in the flood as well. And there's just a lot of stories down there. That's the Walnut Grove Dam. Check it out. You'll find stories on it. 1888. Over 110 feet high. I just found that right here. 110 feet high. It collapsed on February 22nd of 1890 after record rainfall. Yeah, that was bad. One of those things I never heard about in all the Arizona history. Never heard about that before. Of course, that was way, way back, right? And passing through another little community here called Willo, Arizona. Probably about the same size as Kirkland. I think somewhere around 600, maybe 500, 600 people. Official census is always a little bit lower because there are lots of ranches in the area. They probably don't take all of those into account. There's a little store off to the side here. They call the corner store. Coming up here you'll see the little antennas. Another one of the little communities along the highway here. What's kind of funny is I got behind this motorhome and I was just about to start going up the hill. And there's not a lot of places on this road they don't have a lot of passing lanes once you get past Willo. In fact, thinking back, I don't think there were a lot of passing lanes, period, coming up this highway. There are a few, and you'll see I take advantage of the one passing lane, but they're so dang narrow. So this is like I said earlier, don't come up this way if you're in a hurry. It's not the fastest way to get to Prescott, but it is scenic, but it's not the fastest way because you get stuck behind a slow truck, or in this case, what is that? One of those Cruise America. That's what it is, yeah. And they're taking their time. They're not in a hurry. All right, well, I'm just going to be quiet, let you enjoy the ride and the music, as we go on up the mountain for the next few miles. Enjoy. Well, we're almost in Prescott, coming into the backside here at Prescott. You'll notice some of the areas off to the left there were damaged years ago in a fire they had that came almost to the south end of Prescott here. Real close to White Spar Campground, actually. We're not that far here on the road. Getting into the pines. I think the altitude here is, we're getting about 5,500 feet right here. Getting into the backside. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this ride. Safe travels wherever you're going this time of year. Thanks for watching and following along. There's White Spar. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. Have a great day. Catch you on the next video. Bye-bye.